everyone, and welcome to another season of On Tour. It's the cricket program where we look forward to the West Indies versus Zimbabwe series, which starts on Saturday right here on Rush. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Thank you so much for joining me. With me is Aaron Valls, the cricket connoisseur, of course, who will be covering this series, and we are so privileged to have him. It's a two-test series. The West Indies play in Bulawayo, 2 tests, and then they break and they go on to South Africa. It promises to be some very exciting stuff, and you'll see it live and exclusive here on Rush. Well, you know, the West Indies actually, before the actual first test, got started with a very interesting tour game. It was Craig Brathwaite, Joshua De Silva, who played in that tour match and actually got centuries. We spoke with them after the innings to find out just how things are going on tour.
Joshua, firstly, congratulations on that century in the warm-up match.
Thank you very much.
Seems like a good pitch to bat on based on the scores for the West Indies batsmen. Just tell us a little bit about what's going on there in the middle.
Yeah, it is a decent pitch. Some balls are staying a bit low, but I think the boys really applied themselves and took the most of it of the opportunity to get into the middle for the boys who did get their chance. So yeah, it's a good pitch to bat on, and I had a good fun out there.
From a batting perspective, would you say that we achieved what we wanted to in that first innings?
Yeah, of course. It's always good to score over 500 runs. The goal set out by Craig was to bat at the end and a half, and we did that. And Craig gave us a target of 450 at the end of hour after lunch on the second day, and we got that as well. So I think we ticked all the boxes, and hopefully we transfer that into the test series.
And obviously you had some success out there, but just a little bit about Craig's innings and his form over the past couple of years since he's been captain especially.
Yeah, well, everybody's seen it, everybody's been watching, so we know the kind of form he's in, and since he's gotten the captaincy, his batting has just taken a uphill climb. So yeah, it's been a joy to watch for me, and I just try and take little things from him and add it to my game.
A couple of the batsmen getting close to 50, close to a century as well. Positive signs heading into the test match?
Yeah, for sure. It's always good when we get some runs or spend some time in the middle in a practice game. Not everybody's going to score 100 or 50 in that game, but the guys who did get the opportunity, I think they did showcase really well, and that confidence will transfer over.
Zimbabwe now 52 for 5 in their first innings, so evidently the West Indies having a good time with the ball as well. What do you think is the cause for that? What the West Indies doing right on that pitch?
I think Alzari's pace opening up really surprised them. He was bowling quite fast on that pitch. It's not a quick pitch by any means. It was quite slow, but to see him run in and give his full effort and bowl as fast as he could was really good to see, and I think that really helped. And Shannon and Kima just following up on Dapper, throwing his hand in as always, the sugar hand, and getting a wicket there. And yeah, just for the spinners to hopefully get a run out tomorrow.
I think it's safe to say we can expect a bowl out at some point tomorrow. Not sure how early, but when that happens, what do you think the West Indies will be looking to do?
I'm sure once the boys have gotten a few overs under their belt, they'll just want to kick their feet up again and let the batsmen have a go at it.
And in that batting innings, targets?
No, I think it'll just be more of the boys who didn't really get an opportunity or didn't make most of their opportunity in the first inning to get another run out there and just have some time in the middle.
And lastly, how are you enjoying your time in Zimbabwe so far? How's the food? How's the weather? How's the atmosphere? How's the people?
It's really good. Just today we had a bit of lightning that caused the game to stop a bit early, but the food has been great. Can't complain. Always have my pepper sauce with me. That helps a lot. But yeah, can't complain. The people are good, and the weather is nice. So yeah, everything's great.
Skip, first day out competitively in Zimbabwe. Obviously we'll talk about the team performance, but you got a century yourself. What was it like out there in the middle?
Well, obviously it was great to get a score. Pitch was a bit slow. Wasn't bouncing down much, but it was still a decent pitch to bat on once you look to play as straight as possible. But it was good to see that we batted the entire day.
And as you mentioned, batting throughout the day, how impressed were you with the focus of the batsmen throughout the day?
Oh yeah, very impressed. Obviously we had one meeting before this game, and we spoke about the importance of the first innings. And obviously we looking in test matches to start well and get a big total for the first inning. So it was very good to get that run out today. And obviously it's important tomorrow we start back well as batters, and I don't take the position for granted.
That being said, quite a few players got a start, weren't able to push on, or maybe just not as yet. What are your thoughts on that in terms of converting those stats into big totals?
Well, it's important we have to convert those starts. Obviously practice game. Guys also will look and see how they got out and if it's a bit of loss in concentration or not. But I think it's important once we get a start to go big. I know the guys. really fully capable of going big, and just to believe it. I think two guys at the crease, Devon and Josh, they look good, and I think it's important we start out well tomorrow.
So you'd say so far the West Indies has gotten what they wanted out of this warm-up match?
Well, yeah, I think so far batting the first day, after batting first, I think that was very, very good. But as I say, I think tomorrow is very crucial, because coming back in the second day of the test match is really important to set up the day and set up the game with a big first innings total. So I think the approach tomorrow should not be one that we've taken it for granted, position for granted. I think we got to build on this score, and as I said, get a big first innings score, and get us in the habit of obviously scoring a big first innings total.
I think it's fair to assume that at some point tomorrow we'll see our bowlers in action. Having seen the pitch, what do you think will be necessary from them to ensure that they hit their straps?
Well, yeah, for sure. We'll get a ball out. Sometime tomorrow. And I think the pitch, didn't have much bumps, so I think it's important we make the batsman play as much as possible. And some balls started to spin late down today, so I think the spinners will come into play as the attacking option. But I just think we got to be disciplined, and discipline may be bowling at the stumps, in that the ballers are boxing that much, and obviously bowling to your respective fields. I think once we do that, I know we'll do well.
Thanks, Skip, and congratulations on the century again.
Yeah, no problem.
So really good to hear from Joshua De Silva and Craig Brathwaite. A bit later on in the program, we're going to hear from Jason Holder, who had a great practice session yesterday. But Aaron, let's put this test series in perspective. Now, the West Indies historically have always done well in Zimbabwe. In fact, on the last tour, 2017, 2018, Shane Dorrich and the same Jason Holder got centuries as the West Indies won that series. When you look at them head-to-head, realistically, what can we expect from these two teams?
Well, to be honest, Barry, if we're looking at the head-to-head from a historical perspective, you're looking at a West Indies victory. Let's face it, these two test teams have played each other on 10 occasions. The West Indies are unbeaten. They've won 7, drawn 3, lost 0. So if you are a West Indies fan, it's looking pretty good when you look at the history between these two sides. Now, if you look at Zimbabwe's record in Bulawayo as well, as a test venue, 23 tests have been played by the Chevrons in their test history at this ground, the Queen Sports Club. They've only ever won once. And again, that wasn't against the West Indies. So a venue which, although is a home ground, they haven't had much success on. It's very low, it's very flat, it's very, very difficult to get wickets with pace on. So everything is actually going against Zimbabwe as the host of this series when you look at the background context. But with that being said, they've got some exciting players, a very strong middle order. And given the perceived vulnerabilities of the West Indies batting order at times, who knows? We could have a bit of a shock on our hands in Bulawayo in 2023.
So let's examine the squads. Let's start first of all with the West Indies. Craig Brathwaite, 11 test centuries. He's the only batsman who's scored test centuries as an opener for the West Indies in eons. And then the middle order is still themselves quite inexperienced. So let's examine that team. Where do you see the West Indies' strength? Yes, Tajuddin Shandapal is there at the top, who looked good in those first two tests against Australia, but it's still very much inexperienced side that is very vulnerable to lapses. So let's talk about the West Indies.
Well, 100%, Barry. We've seen this in the past, haven't we? With West Indies, we saw it in the series against Australia. This is a side which can get off to a really good start and then collapse out of nowhere. They need to find some stability in that batting lineup. Now, you mentioned Craig Brathwaite, who has been a linchpin, a stalwart at the top of the order. The West Indies' leading run scorer in 2022, scored over 600 runs at an average of over 60. He's one of the greatest opening batsmen on the entire planet right now. So if we're looking at the real key strengths, the real key foundations, the pillars of a West Indies success in this series, I think it lies with Craig Brathwaite. Not only has he got that success in the past year, but in Bulawayo as well, he's done brilliantly. You mentioned earlier the century scored in the warm-up match. He scored 86 at the same venue in the first test in 2017. Craig Brathwaite, for me, is the real key player to watch out for the men in maroon. Then looking at that seam attack as well, even though this is a slow, low-scoring venue at times, you look at those seamers. Kemar Roach is a legend of the game, a top 10 leading wicket taker in West Indies cricket history. Then, of course, you've got the speed demons, your Shannon Gabriels, your Alzari Josephs, and Jason Holder, who again, one of the greatest all-rounders. I'd put him as a top 2, top 3 all-rounder on the planet right now. So that's where the strengths of the West Indies lie. But in terms of their weaknesses, it will be those batting collapses. And that is something which I'll be looking out for pretty eagle-eyed over the course of this 2 test match series.
Let's talk about the bowling. You spoke about Shannon Gabriel. You spoke about how good Jason is, but Jason has been a little bit off the boil, hasn't he? He hasn't really picked up a lot of wickets in Test cricket. And then Kemar Roach is not 100% fit. He played in that first Test, pulled out, and we haven't seen much of Kemar Roach, which I'm a little bit worried about. Yes, Azari is bowling well, but he seems to be the only person that you can depend on where fitness and pace is concerned. I'm worried about Gabriel because Shannon Gabriel usually starts off with a burst, and then he's off the field after 5-6 overs. So I'm very worried about his fitness. Overall, you look at that West Indies bowling, and I would say that Alzari Joseph is perhaps the linchpin right now, with a Kemar Roach that is not fit, a Shannon Gabriel with question marks over him, and Roston Chase is going to have a lot of spin to do himself. So, you do say yes, Zimbabwe, but the West, you do say yes, West Indies will start as favorites, but Zimbabwe might just feel that they can get the bogey over the West Indies if they don't get things right fitness-wise.
Potentially, Barry, and that is a definite concern for fans of the West Indies. You mentioned fitness, and I did mention the nature of this track. It's a flat wicket. This is not a seamer's paradise where there's lots of pace and bounce. To be honest, spinners actually usually do better. And again, we can look back to 2017. Devendra Bishu took 8 wickets in a match. Graham Creamer, Zimbabwe spinner, also took 8 wickets in the first Test match. So for those reasons, you would say that the spinners will probably hold the key in this series. I do think that the likes of Jason Holder, though, will come back strong in this series. I've always been a big fan of Jason Holder, and I do think he will be pivotal. If he can get a few breakthroughs, that'll allow the likes of a Roston Chase, a Gudakesh Moti, or Jamel Warrican, depending on which combination they go for, it will just relieve the pressure on those spin options heading into this series. So it is going to be very interesting. I do think spin will dominate, and that is very strange for an African cricket surface, because when you look at South Africa, or you look at Harare even, which is another Zimbabwean venue, traditionally pace dominates. But this is not like your typical African wicket. And for that reason, even though the West Indies seam attack, I said, would be very strong, and I do think they're going to play a big role in this series, I think another key area, a key battle to just watch out for in the background, will be the battle of the spinners. And if you look on paper, I do think the West Indies, with that greater level of experience, with the likes of a Roston Chase, I know Moti's not played much Test cricket, but in comparison to these Zimbabwean players, he's played a lot more first-class crickets. I do think the West Indies hold the advantage in that department.
Before we look at Zimbabwe, let's talk to Jason Holder. We asked him how is he getting ready for this in particular series.
Jason Holder, firstly, how are you enjoying Zimbabwe so far?
Yeah, Zimbabwe's been really nice. The weather's been pretty cool, and I think the preparation so far has been brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge ahead in the Test series. We've obviously done well here the last time we've been here, so I'm hoping that the boys continue that same thing.
I've been doing a bit of training, had a warm-up match as well. I'm guessing you're just eager to get out onto the park on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that at this stage now in my career, only less practice for me the better. Yeah, just looking forward to the challenge ahead. I think Zimbabwe will put up a very good fight, as they always do. Yeah, we obviously got it better than them last time we played them in the World Cup, but this is a different format, and I'm sure they'll be eager to get back at us.
And not your first time here. How much do you know about these Zimbabwe conditions?
Yeah, I've been here a few times. Last time I came here personally, I had a decent tour, and the conditions are pretty good here for batting. And as a bowler, if you put the effort in, obviously you get some out. So I think it's good for cricket. Normally you have a good crowds here as well too, so I'm looking forward to seeing the Zimbabwean people come out and support.
Any players in the Zimbabwe squad that you're particularly looking forward to competing against now that that squad has been announced?
Well, one that comes to mind is Gary Balance. Obviously he's played for England, played against it when he played for England as well too. And yeah, he's a new chapter for him personally, and it'll be interesting to see him in Zimbabwe colours, so I'm looking forward to seeing him play for Zimbabwe.
And what about the West Indies squad? Any of your teammates that you're just excited to see get out there on the pitch?
No, I'm excited to see all of them play, to be honest. Yeah, I think we've built a really good camaraderie amongst the group, and the boys are really eager. We've had good preparations, as stated before, so I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody go out there and give it the best.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, great stuff there from Jason Holder. You're watching On Tour here on Rush, where we'll be carrying live and exclusive coverage of the West Indies versus Zimbabwe 2-test series. We'll take a quick break and come back and talk about the Zimbabwe cricket team.
To the top, it's time to jump up, people. Are you ready?